Are you ready to increase your retention and revenue and convert website traffic to clients? Then you're ready for Maya. Maya is a marketing and client recruitment software. Maya creates better business relationships by pairing the right clients with the right beauty professionals. How do we do it? A matchmaker. Your brand will have its own unique matchmaking survey. By pairing people based on their skill set, budget, personality, and lifestyle preferences, Maya creates lasting relationships that keep both sides coming back for more. You don't get a second chance to make a first impression. Pair the right clients with the right beauty pros the first time. Visit joinmaya.com to get started.
Thank you for joining me. This is Katie Whitledge with a Beyond the Technique podcast. Today we're talking about modern financials for the growing salon. It is the middle of the year. Have you taken a look back at the beginning of the year and what your objectives have been set for your financial picture? Today's a good reminder and going to be a great resource for you to dive into your numbers once again. I have first-time guests here. We have Kristi and Jolene. They are your bookkeeping besties. Collectively, they have over 30 years of experience in the finance industry. They've teamed together to offer modern financial services to grow beauty brands through bookkeeping, payroll, and tax services. Today may be the day that you finally meet the person you've been hoping to hear from to help you with your financials. So without further ado, welcome to Beyond the Technique, Kristi and Jolene.
Hey, thanks for having us. We're so excited to chat and share anything and everything that we can do with your listeners.
Yeah,
Well,
thank you so much for having us. We're very, very excited to chat with you and talk all things profit, finances, all the fun stuff.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I'm excited too. I feel like this is one of those gritty topics that we avoid because for most owners, we're creative. This is not our number one strength. So, but we need it. And you both seem like a very creative people too. So I'm excited to dive into this. For everybody listening, by the way, I want you to know that you can watch today's episode on Beyond the Techniques YouTube channel. I'd love for you to go there. You can see the faces behind the names, and we have the link for you to watch today's show in our show notes. All right. So I'm curious, do either of you have a background in the beauty industry? I'd love to hear, why did you choose specifically to be a niche financial company within the beauty industry?
No, hard no, no background in beauty. In fact, I think and this might be for Jolene, she could say, but I probably have the thing I have in common would be that topic wise, as what we've learned with our clients is that they just don't, if this finance topic is just unfamiliar, and hair and makeup is unfamiliar to me. So I love going in and having my hair girl tell me and what I need to do with my hair and do all those things. So definitely don't have background in it. There's history to that, how we started the firm, but most importantly, the reason why we like this niche is just because it's easy to give them good customer service, and we just love, like, we just vibe with them so well as a industry. And the way we want our clients to feel is how we feel when we go into a hair salon. And so that's just the type of service we love to give.
Yeah, and to add a little bit to that, we have no experience owning or working in beauty salons. However, we are very frequent flyers of such. And we like how we kind of got into the industry is my hairstylist, who has been my hairstylist now for, oh my goodness, probably 12, 13 years, was working in a salon as an employee and decided to go out on her own. And she was like, I have no idea how to do any of this. And I need you and I need your help. So I really helped support and guide her as she was moving from employee to business owner. And it's like I said, it's been 12 or 13 years, and she's gone from a chair renter to a salon suite to now she owns a salon that has chair renters. And so she's grown dramatically in that process. And so through that, you know, one of the great things about this industry is the networking and so my name got around, and we just kept getting an influx of clients. And when I had about 20 hair clients, I have another accounting firm. And when I got about 20 hair clients, it's like, I really, really want to focus solely on these hair, beauty business owners, because I loved working with them so much. Like you said, they're so creative, and that is an amazing lane for them. I am not creative, but I am a numbers person. And so it's just this really great harmony between both of our strengths to be able to work together. And then that's when Kristi and I kind of joined forces to be able to create this powerhouse collective where we can really support these beauty business owners as they're whatever stage they're in, right? So whether they are a chair renter, or they're they're in a salon suite, or they're these business owners, we have packages and services that kind of really support wherever they're at in their stage of their business ownership journey.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And when I think about the very high functioning owners that listen to this platform and are a part of our community, they are, relatively wise to basics of financials. In your opinion, what is the most important financial document? Potentially, it could be the P&L, the cash flow forecast, it could be the balance sheet. To you, what's the most important report or thing financially that a salon business should be looking at?
Jolene,
Go
do you
ahead,
want to answer
Kristi.
this one?
Yeah, sure. I was going to say, it's so hard for me because they're all so important, because they all tell you a different picture of your business, right? Like your profit and loss tells you one story of your business. The balance sheet tells you a different story of your business. And the cash flow forecast obviously shows you a third picture. But in this industry, what we find, while they're all very important, the cash flow forecast is really so pivotal in this industry, because it can be seasonal, that your income can fluctuate. And so being able to see what the last 12 months looks like versus the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months is really important for business owners to have a very good pulse on their business, to make sure that you're sustaining that growth and that cash flow into the future. So Kristi, I'd love to hear whatever you have, because I know totally agree with me. So I'd love to hear your voice.
Yeah. And Kristi, if you could share for anybody listening that may not know what is a cash flow report, I would love to start with that, because it's like, hey, this is the most important thing. And it makes sense that you're saying it's because your income fluctuates week by week. You kind of average out, but you could have a week like we just came off the holiday of 4th of July. And, that could be a dramatically different week than your other week. So tell me if you could explain really what is a cash flow forecast and what they should be doing to manage that and look at that.
Yeah, that's great. So the financial statement is the cash flow statement itself. What that tells you, and you can choose, from your accounting software, time frame that you want to look at, and that could be historical or future. What we do is in our report packages, for example, we'll include the prior month cash flow statement. What that's going to tell you is how much cash you had in the bank, any expenses you had that you spent cash on, as well as if you paid down your credit card bill, you paid a loan payment, those types of things. So it's your cash activity, which is, a lot of people get hung up on the profit and loss and thinking, wow, my accountant keeps telling me I'm doing great. My revenue is going up and my net profit is higher percent than usual. Like, it all looks good, but why does my bank account feel not that way? So insert the cash flow statement. That's going to tell you what, it captures everything that you're paying out as opposed to just expenses on the P&L, because your P&L will not show you your credit card payment, owner draws, things like that happen on the balance sheet. So the cash flow is going to kind of incorporate both of that and tell you where you're sitting. And that's a more close representation of what's happening in the bank account balance. Like if you logged in this morning and said, okay, what do I have for cash today? What deposits came in? What are our bills for this week or the next 2 weeks? Then that's what's going to represent that better. And so we like to look at that and then see, okay, what does forward thinking, because that's for a business owner, cash flow is a lot of like you want to make decisions based off historical information and what you know about your trends, but your cash flow is what your biggest tool on how you make decisions.
When you're looking at the businesses that you're working with in our industry and you say, wow, this, I'm seeing this consistent thing happen across the board. What are both maybe the positives that you're noticing, but also a mistake that you're often seeing that we could be aware of and fix for our businesses?
Okay. Jolene, I'll have you chime in if I forget anything, because it's not that there's a lot of things, but there's a few crucial things. I'd say as far as like things that we're seeing done really well, and we serve all scale of clients, right? It can be an independent chair renter or they're in a salon suite by themselves. And it can go all the way up to a full salon with a team of employees. And so, or chair renters. And so for the salon with the team, what we see that they're doing really well is a lot of the time they're using their point of sale system and they're tracking their numbers in there, which I think is amazing because kind of like the cash flow we were talking about is that's a good pulse on what's happening and metrics that you should also be looking at that aren't just accounting data, but they're watching that, what's their chair optimization, what's their rebooking percentage, things like that. Like what is our team doing that and what are those trends and what can we, which lever do we pull to tweak and make those things better and see what happens. And so I think they watch those dashboards and point of sale software really well, which is great. We worked in other industries and they just like have no idea, right? So they're utilizing that well. Some of the things that we see that they're not doing well is then looking at the accounting data is knowing how to manage the cash flow and feeling comfortable with, like you said, coming off of a holiday week where revenue was low or a bunch of stylists requested time off and you said yes because support each other and want everyone to have a good vacation, but you realize, oh my gosh, that really impacted our bottom line. Now what? And that's scary, especially when you look at if you're a really high revenue salon and you look at a few stylists being out the same week, like that's a lot of revenue that you've lost. So not watching that side of the business and then making decisions with your team or being not having enough structure in place that then ends up hurting your finances and how those two interact with each other, operations and your cash.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I would add just a little bit like one of the mistakes that I kind of see is when you do have a team is not knowing how much your team is truly costing you. So we all know like, yes, if they're contractors or booth or chair renters and they get, they're running their own, income and expenses. But when you get into the position where you're having employees as team members and they're getting commission-based pay is not only are they getting this commission-based pay, they're getting their tips. And then you as the employer are now paying taxes on top of that. And if you include paid time off, some states require mandatory sick pay. And so not really understanding all the complexities that come into when you have an employee and how much it truly costs you as a business owner. So that's where, like what Kristi was saying, is like knowing your numbers and looking at that dashboard and your point of sale is so important. But there is definitely a disconnect between what that information is showing you and what a true overall accounting picture is showing you when it ties in all those other pieces of your financial business, right? Like how much your team is costing you, how much your overhead is costing you, your direct costs, right? Your color, your makeup, your products, your services. And so I would say the gap between that is just really looking at it from a holistic point of view. And then we could add in your tax situation to that as well and add a whole nother level of, how does all these numbers impact your taxes at the end of the year? So yeah, everybody does, all the clients that we work with do a great job managing that front end and really understanding those revenue numbers and how they're driven. But the overall picture, I think, is where there could be better clarity for sure.
Well, Kristi, you kind of alluded to helping figure out the chair profitability. So I just want a little teaser here for everybody that waits till the end of this conversation. We have a free gift for you related to calculating your chair's profitability. So do not go anywhere. I'm curious, if you could share a story of when you've come in to look specifically at a salon that has a team of commission stylists, you've noticed something in their accounting that you were able to fix and it made a huge impact for them. What was it? We'd love to hear about it.
Question. Let me think about this. I would say, okay, so we have a client that two clients, they kind of their stories run really parallel, which I love. And I meet with both of them monthly. And so I love our calls with them because certain things that one will be facing, I realize the other is like just on the coattails of like, oh, this is their future, or they've just overcome that. And so, but really what it is when it comes to commission is they, like I kind of mentioned it earlier, is that they're, oh gosh, they're in the 3 to 5 between the two of them, year mark of being entrepreneurs. And they are building their team and they want a really amazing team culture in their salon. And so they say yes a lot to a lot of things. And yes is not bad, but realizing the correlation between yes all the time is affecting your bottom line in a way. And that's okay at times. You just have to know when to say yes and when to say yes, but let's tweak it. This, my answer is yes, but this. So back to the vacations is allowing everyone to just have time off or at the same time or in the same window without knowing your cash flow to like, if you want to say yes, that's great. But we need to get your cash flow surplus of reserve set for you so that you can say yes to them. And then they've been able to say, okay, great. I have the cash reserve set aside. So I can have the culture of people can take time off when they want it. That's been a huge relief to them as a business owner, is being prepared for that. And then one of them, we also talked about the commission structure. She wanted to have a workplace that people love to come to work and they made good money, not, after all the expenses of everything being not paid very well at the end of the day. And so she's like, I want them to make good money. We're a high-end salon. I want my team to be high-end wages when they take their pay home. So she had a really, really generous commission structure in the beginning. And as we started looking at her numbers and saying, okay, you have a huge salon build that you just did, you want to repay your loans on that. You want to take a certain pay for yourself and it not be up and down of you want consistent pay yourself. And she was working a lot behind the chair and we looked at her chair profitability. She was carrying the salon mostly. And when you're doing that, you're preventing working on the business. And there's always a phase of that you have to be behind the chair, but you want to know when to start pulling back. So we looked at, okay, how can you start pulling back? And the team building their clientele better. Some of them were newer stylists and things. And then when these new stylists comes in, we have to lower that commission structure. It's still going to be better than your local area with other salons. So you're still being generous, but we do have to pull it back because if you don't, you won't get out of behind the chair. You're going to continue carrying things. So I think that was a really eye opener for her to know that I can still be generous, and get out of behind the chair because she was burnt out. So
Like,
that I
yes.
love seeing that for a salon owner. So much re-energized.
And it's like, yes, in 2025, we'll consider that topic. It's,
Right.
yeah, I think that's great. And you brought up a couple of things that really triggered something to me is owners wondering, how should I pay myself? Because if I own the business and I am behind the chair, do I still pay myself like I'm a stylist or do I separate whatever happens there with the real owner pay structure? Can you teach us if you're going to optimize your business, this is really a great path or the best path in how an owner should pay themselves? What would that be, Jolene?
Yeah. So first so like you'll notice I'm very much more the numbers and compliance aspect of this partnership duo. And Kristi is like putting it into like real life and how it ties together with your operation. So I'll just talk a little bit about the compliance aspect of it, because that's of course where my brain goes automatically is like, okay, well, to pay yourself, one, it's going to depend on the structure of your business, like what the entity status is, right? Because certain entity statuses like an S corp have requirements on how you have to pay yourself, whereas someone like an LLC or a sole prop, you have a little bit more fluctuation. So we always want to guide our clients to ensure that they are paying themselves first, right? That the business is making enough profit to pay you what you need to make at the end of the day. So none of us have really gone into business to make less money than we could make if we were working behind the chair as an employee. So that has to be a priority. Otherwise, what are we doing putting ourselves through all this other stress of owning a business if we're not making the pay that we want to from a personal level? So we always start with like, okay, what do you need to make from your business to meet your personal goals, whether that's, savings, paying off debt, saving for a house, going on vacations every year. So we always kind of flip the script upside down and always start with our clients by addressing, what are your personal goals? How much do you need to personally take from this business? And so once we have that number, we then can structure the P&L basically from the ground up to make sure that your business is producing enough revenue, meet all their expense obligations, debt obligations, team obligations, and then at the end of the day, have enough left to pay you what you want. So from a compliance aspect, yeah, it's gonna, like, the way that you pay yourself is going to depend on the structure of your business, but it's always good to have, like a profit first methodology, or, where you're making sure that you're truly paying yourself what you need to be making from the business. Because I mean, I'm a business owner too, and I get it. Like, sometimes I'm like, I better be making what I need to make at the end of the day, or like, what is all this extra stress that I'm taking on? Like, it's not worth it if I'm not making my paycheck. So as far as like tips and tricks and practicality on how to kind of manage that on a day-to-day or a week-to-week or a month-to-month basis, I'm going to turn it back over to Kristi, because I know she has some great tips or tricks to make sure that you are ensuring that you can pay yourself from your business.
So let's say someone is an S Corp status in their business. So they're an LLC, but they're taxed as an S Corp. So you have your entity status on the state level, but like an S Corp is a taxation status. So that's when the IRS comes in or comes into play. So as an S Corp, you have to pay yourself a reasonable compensation for the role that you play in your business. So let's say someone is 50-50 behind the chair and running their salon. So what we look at is, what is the job responsibilities behind the chair? And then what is your job responsibilities working on the business? And in your local area, what's a reasonable salary that you would pay someone if they had to come in and do those roles? So first is, okay, great. Let's say it's 80,000 salary base. And so, your business has to support 80,000 plus all the other obligations. And then ideally, what we like to see is beyond that is distributions to yourself. So that's the icing on the cake. That's why you're running your business, are those distributions, and that even the tax liability you have at the end of the year with your tax return, that the business can essentially afford to write that check for you. So what we want to, and then if you're not S Corp and you're LLC and you're taking just member draws, or maybe your partnership and you're taking guaranteed payments, which guaranteed payments are really similar. It's just kind of different verbiage, structured slightly different, but it's essentially like getting a salary, getting a routine paycheck. And so it's just a set amount based on your role in the business. And then you can take draws beyond that. But from the cash flow side, what we want to know is, what percentage for your salary does that look like? And so Jolene mentioned profit first. So what percentage of your revenue does that look like? So, and you do the same type of method for making sure you can meet your own team's, the rest of the team's payroll, is knowing that percentage. And then when you see, and this goes for bills and everything else too, is what the percentage breakdown is. And so I like to see owners touch this every Monday, when that's our salon owners, are typical admin days Monday. So I like to see them on Monday, sit down and look at like what their deposit should be for that week, and set aside those percentages into the different bank accounts, or just keep track that X amount is set aside for payroll and for my own payroll, so that you can meet that. Then you can pay the rest out of that, and know if you have a surplus, then you can take a distribution. And then if you don't have a surplus, what's going to happen is that, just because a lot of expenses hit this week, it was payroll and building rent, and you had to purchase inventory, then it's a tight week, and then you're going into the next week feeling lighter. So having a system and routine and habits in place, whatever works for you on a Monday or every other Monday, something like that, and really sitting down and looking at what that amount is and setting that aside and knowing what is truly left over.
I think these are such great practices. And I like how you brought up that you meet with your businesses once per month, but also meet with them or could meet with them weekly or have them do weekly things and you check in with them monthly. Talk to me a little bit, and I'll start with Kristi on just your role. Maybe not like a CFO level, but you are part of their financial advisory team. And what does that relationship look like? What's the accountability that you help? Because I think owners need accountability. We thrive on that of having to check in with somebody. What does that relationship look like for you?
I love that. So really the role I personally play in meeting with our clients is more on that advisory CFO level. Not necessarily, that's not your bookkeeping level. So these are our clients that are in our top tier package, and we meet monthly and we go over what's happened to the business historically on your financials. And then we talk about, and that's a small part of our meeting time, honestly, is what were the numbers last month? What are we averaging and where did this last month shape up? But most of the conversation really surrounds of what's happening in the business, what's on the horizon, what's happening in your personal life, what are the goals that we already talked about when you became a client with us, what are those goals that you were working towards, whether that both personal and business, and where are we at with those things, and making sure that those numbers are continuing to support those things. If the numbers aren't, like, the story of your numbers are not supporting those things, what can we do to change and test out, like, what do we need to tweak? So we'll, like, um, let's try this lever, and see what happens. And maybe that will only take a month to see if that gets things turned around, or it's going to take longer and see how these things improve. And so that's where my expertise really lies, with what it looks like. Although I've never worked in a salon, um, I've worked in a lot of operations of a business. And so it's like, I understand managing big teams and all of those things. So what do we need to do to get those things, interactions with your team, culture issues, pricing issues, things like that, that can make your numbers support what those goals were. So that's a lot about what's going on and, like, the struggles that they're having. So it kind of crosses more into, like, coaching consultant, really. But I love that part of our business, is what's happening in your business. Tell me the good, the bad, what keeps you up at night, and what can we do financially to, fix those things.
Well, I also like that Jolene brought up earlier, how much is your team costing you? So I think a lot of owners listening are thinking, I would like to know, how much does a new person cost me? And how do I really strategically bring on new people instead of, so I don't have to rob Peter to pay Paul over here. So I think there's so much to be said about working with a financial company like yours that will come alongside and coach and consult. And I'm curious, Jolene, what does that financial investment look like to work with you? And owners listening, they're like, man, I really need somebody to be in this industry with me, understand all the things and help me. What does that look like for them financially to join?
Yeah,
Collective?
great
Yeah.
question. Yeah, great question. So, like I said, we have different tiered packages, and in those packages, they start out at, about $425 a month for our lowest tier, and just kind of go up from there. So we always try to build our packages based specifically on that client's needs. So you're never paying for things that you don't need, and you're always making sure that you are getting the full support that you need. So we always start our discovery out with, like, a meet and greet. It's like, let's just get together, let's just have a chat, make sure that, like, we're vibing, right? Like, the worst thing to do is, like, entrust is when you're not really jiving with them. And so we love to just have a quick chat with you to begin and learn a little bit more about you and your business and kind of where you're at in your ownership journey. And then you get to learn a little bit more about us and the services that we provide too. So that's obviously no charge, just to have the conversation. And then, yeah, our packages start at 425 and kind of go up from there. Our top tier package starts out at $1,300 a month, and just increases depending on the complexity of that specific business and the business owner. But we also do, like, one-off consulting. So, how Kristi was talking about, letting us know what's going on in your business. And sometimes even for our current clients who are in a package, they have one thing that comes up and they're like, I just need to chat this out with you guys. Like we had one client who has a great salon space and the space next to her became available for rent. So she was like, I would love to rent this additional space, but I need to know how much additional revenue can the space bring in? How much additional cost is this space going to bring me? Is it really worth it in the long term? And we also had another client who had employees and wanted to move to a chair renter model, and vice versa, has chair renters and wanted to move to an employee model. And they wanted to know, like, what does that actually look like? What do I need operationally? What is it going to how is it going to change my revenue? How is it going to change my costs? And so then we do those like one-off projects. And so those are just kind of the cost is based on that specific project. And so we always do a consultation first. And those usually run about $250, and it's an hour long of us just kind of learning where you're at and where your struggles are, and then coming up with a plan on how you can move forward. So lots of different options, and we kind of just like try to keep it fluid and flexible because every business owner is different. Every situation is different. And so we want to be able to support you. And so we're at the point in our business where we do have some flexibility with that right now, and what that could look like.
Awesome. Well, for everybody listening, if you want to connect with Summa Collective, go to the links in our show notes. We have their website and their Instagram for you. And we have a special gift. So you've made it to the end. So Jolene, could you share with us your special giveaway for everybody listening today, which will also be in our show notes for you?
Yeah. So we are going to link to you our guide to chair profitability to grow your beauty brand. And so this is just allows you to step into your financial confidence with very minimal, like with every snip and style. Like our guide is going to unlock your chair profitability, ensuring that you're not only making others feel beautiful, but you're also boosting your earnings and watching your beauty brand grow. With really going to dive a little bit DIY into your chair profitability numbers. And that's just really the basics. Is like, if your chairs are not profitable, then I would pretty much guess that your overall business is not profitable. So that's just kind of like a very little entry level step, just a quick pulse check, a quick gut check to let you know, is my business truly profitable? If you don't have those numbers, just like those up to date profit and loss numbers on a recurring monthly basis, this will just give you a quick gut check to have a place to start, right? And so if the numbers show that you're not profitable, take it with a grain of salt and just know that that's your next action item. And that's where you should really be spending your time and focus right now in your business, is making sure that your business is truly profitable from the ground up.
Amazing. Well, before we're done, I would love for Kristi, if you could share any final words of wisdom with our listeners today on the financial topic. We would love that.
Financial words of wisdom. I would say I think this is a scary topic, finances, and we avoid it. We tend to really know what the numbers are, and that stresses us out. And then tax season comes, and that's really stressful because then you're like, oh gosh, what do I owe this year? I hope I get a refund, or is that going to be my payment more than last year? Because that was really scary and overwhelming. And so, word of wisdom is just bite the bullet and do it. Just start somewhere and start looking at your finances. And there's really simple habits that you can do that don't have to have you look. We want all business owners to be knowledgeable of their financial statements and be able to read them. That's one of the things we work through when I meet with clients. But there's other habits that are even more helpful on your day-to-day operations that we can put into your routine that help you feel in the know and feel empowered in that. And just remember that you just need someone that's in your corner. And Jolene and I, we like to say hashtag not your dad's accountant. That's not us. We're not boring. I'm going to talk over you. If we start going on a tangent because we're number nerds, that's our tell us to stop and be like, I don't know what's going on right now. And that's fine. We want to be approachable and supportive, and we want to empower people. So dive into your numbers and start doing that. That's like ownership of your business and ownership of your life and accomplishing what you want to do in life too. So go do it.
Yes. Amazing. Well, I appreciate you so much for listening again. Go and follow Suma Collective on social media. We have the link in our show notes to their Instagram because there you're going to get educated on a consistent basis as well. So thank you for being here, both of you. I really appreciate you imparting your wisdom on us. And I appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
And
thank you. We had a great time.
And thank you all for joining us here week after week at Beyond the Technique. If you love this platform, we would love it if you take a moment to leave us a positive review wherever you're listening so that more people like yourself will discover Beyond the Technique, where we're here to change the way that you are supported in your business. Until next time, everybody, have an awesome day and stay strong.